get it started. So, welcome everybody to Tuesday Night Talks. This is week 7. We are really excited to have everybody on the call this evening. We appreciate everybody being here. My name is Matt Elkin. I'm here with Scott Martin. We're here from West Coast Elite Basketball and Attitude of Gratitude Consulting. We are really excited. This is our first week of Tuesday Night Talks where we're featuring exclusively assistant coaches and recruiting coordinators. So we are really excited for tonight. And our first guest of the evening comes to us from Atlanta, Georgia. Kevin Sullivan, welcome to Tuesday Night Talks.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate you guys having me, and honored that that I was part of the selection of this special edition of assistant coaches. And yeah, I'm just really excited to share both about myself, but more importantly about Emory and our basketball program.
Yeah, definitely. So give us a little bit of a background just about you and kind of like what's led up to you getting in coaching and kind of what brought you to Emory.
Yeah, so I'm from a basketball family. I appreciate you guys sharing the tweet about me leading up to this stuff, and I think you guys highlighted my older brother, Chris Sullivan, who is the head coach at Denison University in Ohio, but I'm the middle of 3. So I have a younger brother Brian he's an assistant coach, and he is the director of student athlete development at Davidson College in North Carolina. So between the 3 of us, all 3 basketball staffs, my parents have a lot of basketball to watch. But yeah, growing up with 2 brothers, I mean, we played every sport under the sun, but we all, I think through our father, really fell in love with basketball. Really in high school, we got a real taste of what a real basketball program was like, how it should be run. So we all 3 of us went to Upper Arlington. I was fortunate enough to play with both of my brothers, having Chris on 2 years above me, Brian 2 years below me. And the 3 of us had a ton of success there. All 3 of us played in college. My older brother at Wittenberg, and then Brian played at Davidson. And for me, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of success on the high school court that allowed me to play at DePaul University in Indiana, and played there for 3 years. I missed 1 due to an injury. And I really attribute that year that I sat out with ankle surgery, I attribute that to why I got into coaching. Sitting on the sideline, I wasn't able to use the physical tools that I had to impact games, winning, losing, helping guys grow. And I saw what Coach Fenlon and the assistant at the time, Brian Euler, I saw what they did, and I was like, man, that's not work. Someone pays them to go to a gym every day. You watch film, you get to be around great people. Like, that's not work. So I saw what they did. I really went into the office more and evaluated that stuff. My background, like education-wise, my undergraduate degree is all in education. So I thought I wanted to teach and coach. And it was through some of my connections, through Coach Fenlon, that I was able to get a graduate assistantship at Defiance College, which really just kind of got my foot in the door. And then from there, just continued to meet people. I actually got my first full-time position was back in the league with DePaul at Kenyon College. And that was a real just thrown to the wolves kind of deal, where I was going from Defiance, being a graduate assistant, just really helping in any way possible. Fun year, great year. We were like 23-6 or something, so a lot of wins. Defiance had a little bit of a nice run after that. But as far as that transition from just kind of helping others to then being the lead assistant at Kenyon and taking on a national recruiting. We actually, at the time, we only had 1 kid from the state of Ohio in which Kenyon's located. So I was making trips to and from the East Coast, to and from the West Coast. We had a bunch of San Francisco guys. So yeah, it was a real trip for me to try to take all that on without having any experience in it whatsoever. So 3 years at Kenyon allowed me again to just continue making connections, continue meeting people, which then brings me down to Emory. And with Coach Z's connection to Davidson, my younger brother's connection to Davidson, and some other mutual people as well, I was really fortunate enough to get a call from Coach Z. He told me that he was interested in bringing me down, and I was all about it. And so I was really grateful for the opportunity to really learn from him. I know Scott, Matt, we were joking a little bit, like I actually am currently enrolled in graduate school, but I didn't start that until this spring. Like my previous 3 years at Emory, I really looked at learning from Coach Z as my master's in coaching. Like you talk about a guy who's been doing it at a really high level for a really long time. The success he's had over the last 10 years at the Division III level, I'm getting everything I need to know from Coach Z down here at Emory.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And,
yeah.
and it's a great journey, obviously part of a basketball family. And I thought it was pretty interesting to hear, that injury kind of helped guide you in that direction for coaching. So obviously things have led you down this road, and now you're here at Emory. So tell us a little bit about the school and, what you like so much about Emory and kind of what's kept you around there for so long.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Emory's part of the conference of the UAA schools, the University Athletic Association, which is large research universities. So, I mean, Emory's nationally ranked, it's top ranked. And it's larger than what your, I guess, stereotypical Division III school is. We're about 15,000 students.
Wow.
I think it breaks down fairly evenly. It's about 8,000 undergraduate students to 7,000 graduate students. And yeah, the location of it is great. So we're located in Atlanta. The specific neighborhood is Druid Hills, which is a beautiful neighborhood. You step off, you go for a run out off of campus, and you're running by formerly Coach Budenholzer's home, who was the former coach. He's now with the Milwaukee Bucks, but he was with the Atlanta Hawks for quite some time. Like his house was right off campus, so it's a stunning neighborhood, and Emory it's a beautiful campus with top of the line resources. With all those students, I mean, you're talking about 15,000 students. There's just an energy, there's just a buzz about campus that everybody around you kind of just get a feeling that they're all committed to excellence.
Sure.
That they're not going to make excuses for anything that they do, everything that they're involved in, they're going to do to the best of their ability. And it holds true for what students do in the classroom, what athletes are doing on courts and fields and their space of play, but also within like Emory Healthcare and what they're doing within the challenging time of the ongoing pandemic. So everything that's involved in Emory, it's just a special place. And certainly being in nice weather year round, you only get snow a couple of times a year, which is a little bit different for a guy like me who grew up most of the time in the Midwest.
Yep.
It's a great spot to be for me. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it's a great spot for me to learn as an assistant coach, and what we have access to as far as resources and the connections you make being at a place like Emory. It's the key that unlocks doors beyond belief.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. And you touched a little bit, Coach, on the league, the UAA. We've had a couple other schools from the UAA there, and obviously it's some of the best cities across the country and an extremely, extremely competitive conference for Division III. So now, with that being said, tell us a little bit about the basketball program. You guys had a great season this past year. Tell us kind of about Emory from the basketball standpoint.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I'll kind of touch on the league a little bit from maybe the assistant's perspective.
Sure.
The experience from being in former leagues where, yeah, you're just bussing for hours. Being in the UAA is totally different. Like, you are traveling, in comparison to that, like, you're traveling like royalty. Yep. It's great. You get on a bus, there's buses waiting for you places, and you get in, you hop on a plane, then a plane takes you to a bus takes you right to, like, we're in New York City staying right by Times Square, or in Chicago, you're staying on the Magnificent Mile. And from a travels perspective, like, the experience as a student athlete. You've got your headphones, you've got your travel gear, you got your bag, and you're good. Like there's really not another thought from a student athlete perspective. For me, those trips are nightmarish. There's so much logistical stuff that I have to deal with and plan out and sometimes put out fires. That, like, unfortunately there are moments where I'm like, man, do I even coach basketball? And then it comes to game time and I'm like, all right, let's go. And everything is back right in the world. And it's a really incredible experience. The cities are unique in their own way, and they're all some of the greatest cities in the country. And what I found out that's been really unique about the UAA is by going to each of those cities annually, you develop a familiarity with them. And post Emory, you're looking at those cities for employment. And it's not you going there for the first time, or you're not coming from maybe a rural Division III school like I attended, and then now you're going to live in Chicago. It's not like that. You're used to those cities. You're familiar. You've met people. And so you learn about just the transition that I've learned about the transition that our athletes make from being competitors to them being coworkers. And guys use their UAA connections. A player of ours, Adam Gigax, lives in San Francisco with a former WashU guy.
Oh, wow.
And like they know each other and they're great and they play in a men's league together. And it's those types of connections that what make the UAA such a special league and such a unique league to be a part of. Now, yeah, for us, basketball wise, within that league, we've had a ton of success. I've been here, so I just finished my third season, and we've won back-to-back UAA championships. I think we've either won or had a share of the title in 4 out of the last 6. And it's a grind because it's different. You don't have a conference tournament at the end. I think we're the only league in basketball that does not have a conference tournament at the end of the year. So you're looking at it, you play 14 games in the UAA, that's your tournament right there. You got 14 games to prove who the best team in the league is, and it takes all 14. And so it's special. So night in, night out, Friday nights and Sundays at noon for the men, that you got to be on, because any one game could cost you. So it's been a blast. I've been really, really fortunate to have been on this side of coach's success, on the years where we've been 3 seasons in a row of 20 wins. Coach has been here now for 13 years. I think if you really look at it, it was 2 rebuilding years when he first got the job, and then 1 winning season. And then everything after that has really just been like success and then sustained success. And yeah, this season it ended a little earlier than we would have liked.
Yep.
And I mean, it ended early for everybody, those last 16 teams, but unfortunately, the Sage Hens from California, they got us on a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
So that one was a little bit tough, but everything that we've been able to accomplish basketball wise has been special. Like you look at what we've been able to do in our home gym, like on our campus. If you look at the last 10 years, we're winning games at home almost 90% of the time.
Wow.
I think our home record over the last 10 years is like 119 and 16. And so for us, winning games at home is great, but we're able to win on the road too, because you got to do that to win the UAA. And so, you look at what Coach Z's been able to do, and he's won 5 UAA championships since he took over. His record is, I think, 204 and 65 over the last 10 years. So we're averaging 20 wins a game, or 20 wins a season, excuse me. And we only get 25 outside of NCAA, because we don't get those kind of extra 3, sometimes 4 games that other teams are getting. when they do play conference tournaments. But I think, yeah, I wrote down just kind of a couple of notes, but Emory basketball is not a long-standing program. It's only 34 years old. So our first varsity basketball season was, I think, the 87-88 season. And in those 34 years, before Coach Z, Emory basketball had made one NCAA tournament appearance and 2 conference championships. In the last 13 years, and since Coach Z has been here, we've been to 8 consecutive NCAA tournaments and have won 5 UAA championships.
Wow.
And yeah, the 8 NCAA tournament appearances that we have, the 8 consecutive, is the longest stretch of NCAA tournament appearances of any UAA school, and it's the second longest active streak in the country right now.
Wow.
So we're hoping that all this pandemic stuff goes away so that we can get back to playing some basketball, because those facts about what we've been able to do in the past, those aren't changing, and all we want to do is keep adding to them.
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's a great segue, Coach. So, obviously as a recruiting coordinator, you have a big say in kind of the types of kids that you're going to bring in. So I'm going to toss it over to Scotty to ask you some more questions, specifically kind of about that. How do you keep that success going? So, Scotty?
Yeah, Coach, as a former college athlete, can you touch upon your recruiting process and how you kind of learned from that and put it into your current position at Emory? And any advice you have for these guys, how they approach their recruitment?
Absolutely. So my recruiting was very regional. Being that I went to high school in Ohio has, I believe it's 28, 29 Division III schools in that state. So those were all the people that were coming to watch me play on a regular basis. I did have a lot of high school success as a larger point guard. Like my senior year, I led my team in every statistical category, which, I mean, I felt like I was a pretty well-rounded player, and I wanted to play at the highest possible level that I could. And there were a handful maybe of local, like Division II, or every once in a while a Division I school would maybe poke around. But I wanted to go to a place where I could get a great education, play, and ultimately the most important thing for me was, where did I fit? Where did I feel comfortable? Where did I want to be? And I don't wish this upon anybody, but where did I want to be if basketball got taken away? And that was the best advice that I got from my dad, who is a long-time college professor. Was, God forbid I got injured or just for whatever coaching change. I mean, crazy things happen, but where would I want to be if basketball ever got taken away? And for me, DePaul was the absolute best fit for me academically, basketball-wise, socially. I mean, you name it, that was where I wanted to be. So when I did go through that ankle surgery my sophomore year of college, I was just as happy rehabbing, and I didn't really have basketball, but I was just as happy rehabbing as I was when I was starting games my junior and senior year. So the recruiting standpoint, like, yeah, I wanted to find a place that fit me, and that was different actually. And I'm fortunate enough to have the perspective of both of my brothers as well. My older brother went through this process before me, and he was a great high school player, very, very talented and very successful. He was an All-American his senior year at Wittenberg, but that's not where he started. He actually started at a different school where on paper was a better spot, but it wasn't the best fit for him. So he wasn't as successful at his first institution as he was, and because it was a better fit as his second one. And then actually the same thing happened to my younger brother. The place he fit, and his was a scholarship thing, so people were offering things to him that was a little bit new to us as a family. But again, on paper, it was, oh, well, this is a good match. This is where you should be successful. But he realized after a year at his first institution that's somewhere smaller, somewhere better suited to him. And he was really, really happy and really grateful that Davidson came knocking. And that's where he finished his career. So he played 3 years there. So I think that fit thing is vital.
Especially we're big on the 40-year plan thing too. And, I know Emory's a, number 21 nationally ranked university, but it's also the number 21 best value schools, which in Division III I think is a very important category. What are the main majors and what do your players study at Emory?
Yeah, we've got guys that are a really broad mix of interests. I would say overwhelmingly the most popular amongst all male athletes at Emory is the Goizeta Business School. Mm-hmm. So they want to get into, everybody wants to be in the business of making money, right? It's a 40-year plan you're talking about. So yeah, business, you go to Emory College for 2 years and then you're able to apply to get into the business school. And then you go there for 2 years and then you actually graduate with a business degree. So that's probably our most popular. I'd say maybe just under half of our team is going that route right now. We have 2 guys that are actually going to go just econ and stay away from the business school because they want to do their own thing that way. But we've had playwriting majors, writing majors. We've had Arabic, political science double major. We've had sociology and African American studies double major. We've had it all. And so guys do come in with a broad range. And I think the one that maybe eludes us a little bit, and not for a lack of trying, is the pre-med. Emory Healthcare is a world-renowned name, and guys have access to that when they do their med track at a place like Emory. We have a student athlete who did. He graduated in 2013, Alex Grevin, who's actually back on campus now and just finished his 3rd year of med school and has been a phenomenal resource for guys looking into something like that. But kind of going back a little bit to the business school, there's all sorts of different routes in the business school too. There's accounting, there's data analytics, there's finance, there's consulting. So there's, even within just the business school, there's a lot of different avenues to take there too.
Here's $1 million question. What does it take to get in? Like GPA, score?
To Emory or to the business school?
Emory in general, as an undergrad.
So yeah, everybody's answer to that, right, is like it's a little bit.
Yeah, it's in the range
stuff. And we are like we're looking for qualified athletes. We're looking for people that we, as like a coaching staff, like we're looking for applicants that we know can do the work. And so, you look on our, like I think I looked it up the other day, the statistics for our incoming class, or like the 2023 class, was GPA wise, like you're on a 4.0 scale, you want to be above like a 3.75. ACT wise, you want to be above a 30. You want to be, and our average was somewhere between like a 32 and a 35. And then SAT wise, I guess combined total score, like the average was somewhere between a 1400 and a 1550. So like those are numbers, but what basketball I think allows college coaches to do, and this is definitely me as an assistant coach speaking for kind of the view as head coaches, but basketball coaches, head coaches, most of them have some sort of communication within admissions, right?
Sure.
And so the whole point is to be able to paint the picture of who that student is, why they can do the work, and why they would benefit from being at a place like Emory, and then how can Emory benefit from a student athlete like this person. And so that all in told is what creates a qualified applicant.
And you guys recruit nationally. I was looking at your roster today. You guys got East Coast to West Coast. So when you're on a traditional recruiting trail, what are you looking at? What are you looking for in a Emory recruit on the court?
Yeah, we do. We cover, I think, 13 states, and that includes our new guys. So yeah, we got California, Connecticut, and even Nebraska. Like, we got everything from coast to coast and everything and in the middle too. But as far as what we go out looking for, we definitely need guys that can shoot it. Coach Z, everything in his background as a player, like, he jokes all the time that that's all he could do. So if he can find guys that can shoot it, and not very many guys can shoot it at the way he did. I mean, he was a great player at Davidson, even though he won't say that. Scored over 1,000 points. I mean, when he graduated Davidson, he was the all-time leader in three. So he wants guys that can shoot it. And I mean, if you draw up any sort of defense, the best way to beat it is to just put 5 guys out there that can all shoot it. So that's definitely one of the things, like, learning from him that he definitely emphasizes a little bit. But we want complete basketball players. We want well-rounded guys. We want guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. But to get to that next level, I guess for us, is we want guys that can see. We want guys that can see the game, that can anticipate, but also have a memory, both short-term memory and long-term memory. What happened early in the game, what just happened in the game, and how can we use that against them? We want to be able to we don't want robots. And that's what's great about a place like Emory, is guys can think, they can problem solve, they can be creative if we let them. And so we want guys that we can give the tools to problem solve for themselves out on the court. So we're not, as coaches, like, constantly making adjustments. Like, they can do that themselves, and they can see the game, and they can exploit different advantages or different disadvantages for the opponent. And that is something that I definitely valued as a player. I came as a college player too. I came in as a point guard, got hurt, then came back as a center, short center, but played the 5, then played the 4, then played the 2, then played the 3. So by the time I was all said and done, I played every position, which benefits me on the coaching side now, because I played every position. I know what it takes to maybe what point guards are looking at, what guys posting up are looking at. You have that different perspective, and then you can relate to people, and that's what's special.
That's why you guys have won so many titles here. Clearly, the recruiting's going pretty well.
Hey, this all started long before I did. I gotta tip my hat to Chris McHugh, who set the table extremely well for me. I just had to continue and follow in his footsteps, and just keep giving Coach Z good guys to call and good guys to watch.
So in this environment, how do you find good guys to call and good guys to watch? What's some advice for recruits? How do they get in contact? How do you even get on your radar at this point?
Yeah, for us, and it kind of speaks to the structure we already have in place, is because we are doing a national recruiting base, I will read every email. I'll read every email. My girlfriend hates it because I'll read every email. And that's the best way to get in touch with us. And I think Landry joked about it a week or 2 weeks ago that, like, email me, but really email Coach Leffler.
Yeah.
His assistant, right? Because that's how it works. That's a little bit how it works. Because I'll read every email. So the best way to do it is get in touch with me, and really be organized. Tell me, like, a little bit about who you are, where you're from. Make sure you include your graduating class. Like, I can't imagine how many times I've gone through emails like, I don't know when he's graduating. And again, when I have to, like, problem solve and research after something that has been sent to me, it shows a little bit of a lack of organization.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, highlight video, but then also raw footage is also really helpful for us. Like I said, dealing with a national recruiting base, the best thing that I can do is just watch as much film as I possibly can, because I'm evaluating different high school games from different cities, from different, like, class sizes. And so for us right now, like, we a little bit had a pretty good structure built into handling pandemic without being able to go out and see guys in person, is film evaluation, talk to our network of coaches, just get on the phone with kids and really get to know them as best we can.
That's awesome. Well, hey, we're running short on time. I know it flies by, and we really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight, Kevin. And just so everybody knows, like Coach mentioned, please reach out to him via email. We included his email in the chat box, so if you guys want to reach out, you can always access that online as well. But kind of with the last minute or so here, is there anything else we didn't get a chance to touch on that you wanted to talk about here before we wrap things up?
Oof. The one thing I will share with guys going through this process, and the one thing that I wish I had done a better job of, was taking care of my body. Even in high school, and guys playing in AAU stuff, I know not right now, but traditionally guys playing in AAU stuff, they're playing significantly more games than I ever did. And I wish that I had, whether it be stretching, yoga, I wish I had done a better job of taking care of my body younger, so I don't have all these aches and pains that I do right now, and I'm only 29. So do that, and then just remember that every challenge that's in front of us is an opportunity for us to grow.
No, I love that. Well, I hope everybody that's on the call tonight definitely reaches out to Coach and thanks him. And if you guys are interested in Emory, great city, obviously great program, a lot of success, and a great school. And we really appreciate assistant coach, recruiting coordinator, Coach Sullivan, from being on with us tonight. Beard is excellent. Hopefully it stays around even after quarantine is over. So, hey man, we appreciate you being on with us tonight. Stay safe, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you back in the gym soon.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Have a good night, Kev.
See you guys.
What's up?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good. Can't complain. I'm glad we're doing this. And
yeah,
guys obviously getting creative with this together. So really excited. I know I was badgering you, texting you almost every week, Matt. Just when can you get me on this? Just waiting to get on one of these. So I'm pretty excited.
No, man, we're excited to have Coach Felix Bongo from Bowdoin in the great state of Maine coming to us, staying up a little bit past his bedtime maybe to join us here on the West Coast. But we are really excited to have him. So, Felix, first things first, man, tell us a little bit about kind of you. Tell us about your background and kind of what led you to coaching at Bowdoin.
Cool. So, for guys in this talk that I haven't met or spoken with before, my name is Felix Bongo. Currently the assistant at Bowdoin, and played my college ball at Clarkson University, small, engineering or business school in upstate New York. Division III, played in the Liberty League. Played 4 great years there, played on some great teams, which I was very lucky to be a part of. And then was able to come back actually and get into coaching after that. I really couldn't stay away from the game too long. I missed it a lot. It was funny. So when I actually graduated, I jumped into the corporate world for a little bit and realized really quick that it wasn't for me and I'd rather be around basketball. So, I jumped back in at Clarkson. I coached there for 2 years. I volunteered my first year there, and then jumped into the assistant spot my second year. And then from there, had 2 pretty good seasons coaching up there at Clarkson with a really good group of guys, and ended up at Bowdoin, coaching with Coach Tim Gilbride, which has been great. Been here 2 years, going into my 3rd year now. So just really excited to get it going.
Well, we just had Kevin on. He was talking about what a great high school player he was, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Felix, I think, is a little humble, but I was doing some research on him, and I see here he was the only player to rank in the top 10 in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. So, that's pretty LeBron-esque, if you ask me. Little Giannis, little LeBron, maybe before their time. So, much respect for that. So, just give us, a quick. What did it mean to you to kind of come back to your alma mater to get a chance to kind of coach? How was that experience for you?
Man, it meant everything. Obviously I enjoyed my time at Clarkson and met a lot of great people and made some awesome connections within the athletic department and also just around campus as well. So to be able to come back and, be able to coach some of the guys that I played with, but also you teach the younger guys, the next generation of Clarkson players, it meant a lot just because I know how much pride goes into putting on that uniform. So, it's something that I'll definitely always remember. And it definitely was a great experience to be able to go back and help out the program again. It was weird, definitely being back on the bench and not being on the court. That was a weird adjustment, I won't lie.
Yeah.
But it was great. I really learned a lot from Coach Gorski and Coach Senthal, who are also there with me as well. And, really helped me to get to where I'm at now. So super thankful for them. But it was an awesome opportunity to be able to go back for sure. And I know that's some high praise to compare me to LeBron. I wouldn't go too far. I think that's a little much, but yeah.
I said LeBron-esque. Yep. Okay.
All right. Just wanted to make sure. I don't want anyone to think out there that I'm walking around comparing myself to LeBron, because that's some pretty crazy stuff there.
No, I would never put words in your mouth like that. No, that was from me. You guys can quote me on that one.
I don't want to say compare myself to the GOAT, but that I might upset a couple people in this call. But.
Oh, we can't get started in this debate. That's a whole nother can of worms. We'll touch on that another time. Well, we've been really lucky to have you, Felix, at some of our West Coast Elite basketball events, and you've done a great job recruiting in your position at Bowdoin. So, tell us a little bit about the school and tell us about kind of what attracts some kids there. You got, kids from all over the country. So tell us a little bit about Bowdoin, the university, and then touch a little bit on kind of the basketball program.
Definitely. So Bowdoin is an awesome liberal arts school located in Brunswick, Maine. I think we are ranked 5th last time I checked U.S. News. So, one of the best schools in the country, and, just the environment around the Bowdoin is great. It's a nice little college town. Our campus isn't too far from downtown Brunswick. You're within walking distance to everything you need, restaurants, movie theaters, groceries, anything you think of that we got in downtown Brunswick. And you're not too far from, the city feel as well. We have Portland, Maine, which is a really popular place right on Casco Bay. Kind of more of a city feel than you would get from a Brunswick, but you're not too far. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, which is great. And the best thing about it is too, you're right on the ocean. Whether you're in Brunswick, Portland, there's beaches all over, Southern Maine. And, our guys, especially in the off season, like to unwind and get out there a little bit too, especially when the weather's nice up here. So, there's lots to do. The people up here are great. And then a little bit more towards the academic side. So it's our smaller campus, about 1,800 students. The cool part about our campus, though, I want to say a little over a third of them are student athletes. So, you're on campus with a bunch of other students that are, in the same boat as you, having to manage their time and, figuring out how to juggle between their course load and also, their practice schedule and game schedule as well. So it's a really cool environment, but also just the support that you get from not just the student body, but also the community as well in Brunswick. People are really passionate about Bowdoin athletics out here. And, just it shows in the support that we get at our home games, especially, if we have a big in-state rival coming in or, just a big, playoff game that we got, for hosting or anything of that nature. So the support you get from the student body and the community is awesome as well. And then also the food on campus is probably our biggest selling point. We are ranked number 2 in the country when it comes to our dining hall. So it's actually pretty cool. I remember my first day on the job. I walked into a lobster bake for our students because we have it every year for the day they move in, which is pretty cool. So if you're big on seafood, you'll get plenty of it up here. And
you're making me jealous,
I think
man.
even outside of seafood,
making me wish to eat.
Yeah, outside of, I'll have to get you up here. We'll treat you to some lobster rolls or something, and something else around town as well. There's plenty of options, so it's a great place. You won't go hungry up here, that's for sure.
And touch on the basketball program a little bit, Felix.
So we play in the NESCAC, small conference in New England, arguably the toughest conference in the country. So you're playing in probably the highest level that you'll get for Division III, which is great. So you'll have the opportunity to obviously get a great education at a school like Bowdoin, but also play some high-level competition night in and night out. So I want to say probably about 4 or 5 teams each year just to show the strength of our conference, are ranked top 25. And, usually those teams are competing for conference and national titles. So, you really can't take a night off. It's the tough part about our league is that you only see everyone once. So you got to make sure you make every game count. So, you got those 10 conference games to really make a name for your team and hopefully get some good resume wins. And, I think that's super important, down the stretch. And our guys definitely take that into consideration every single day when they're approaching practice or games as well. So our program, we kind of are, a younger team right now. We had a great graduating class from this past year. We graduated 3 more great seniors this year. So, we really are a young and upcoming team, but they are, a bunch of guys that have played some of the best teams in the country down to the wire, which is really exciting for the future of our program. Our rising sophomore class played some heavy minutes and started some big games for us. And, we have another incoming class that we're really excited about. So, I think the future of our program is looking really great. And we're down the line going to be, hopefully within the next year or so competing for, conference and, making some noise at the national level as well. Some of our current roster, we've had some, just to name a couple of guys, this past year, we had a wing, David Reynolds, who was second team all conference, second leading scorer in the conference. He averaged, I want to say, about 22 points a game, and was just one of the tougher players in the league, and has the opportunity to go play professionally overseas now. And, we've had Lucas Hausman, who just finished up his career playing for Maccabi Haifa, and Will Hanley, who's still finishing up his career in Uruguay too. So we have a lot of guys that have come through the program and, displayed that it's some pretty high level competition here, and they get some some high level recruits here as well. And then just traditionally we've been through, we've been to 3 NCAA tournaments, hoping that we can get back there this year. And then also just, sorry, I kind of lose my train of thought here. Yeah, so 3 NCAA tournament appearances, and just the level of guys that we've brought in have obviously done great things on the court, but off the court as well, have held themselves to a pretty high standard. I think this last year we had a team GPA of 3.4. So our guys are definitely making sure that they handle their business on and off the court too. So it definitely makes Coach Gilbride's life and my life a little bit easier, knowing that we don't have to worry about, what they're doing off the court. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure a lot of that, comes into play just through the recruiting process. And, a lot of what you're doing as the recruiting coordinator, assistant coach, is trying to find those, who's going to be a good fit. So I'm going to toss it over to Scotty. He'll have a couple more questions for you specifically on that topic. Scott?
Coach, you have the facts of the program down straight. I'm super impressed. You were rattling that thing. I'm like, man, he's taking question after question away from me here. Wow.
I was just trying to stay prepared.
Yeah, you ain't playing games, doing a great job. I was looking over your roster. We have Colorado, Japan, all over the place. My favorite recruit is Jack Garza from Newport Beach, West Coast Elite alum. But how do you guys cast such a big net? How do you recruit from so many different places?
Well, I think we've just started by developing relationships with great programs like obviously West Coast Elite, and just, really building off of those connections. You guys do a great job, obviously, sending us any high academic guys, and, we try to develop those connections with a lot of AAU programs. But, especially in the world of the pandemic, I've just been on social media constantly, trying to find some high academic guys. And I've been pretty much just scrolling up and down Twitter for now. But right now, obviously, it's just been trying to get out on the road as much as possible. Obviously, I know you mentioned, we have guys from all over the country, and, we've been lucky to, have some great players from all over the nation, and even, some international players come in as well, and make a big impact for us. So I would just say it's more about like trying to follow through with those connections and just reaching out to any high academic kid that we can find. So, I mean, we've been in touch with, programs from California like yourself. We have guys from Washington, Canada, Japan, North Carolina, and just kind of been trying to build on those connections and kind of go from there. So that's why I guess the importance of social media, especially, when we're trying to recruit on a national scale, is so important. So making sure your social media is definitely cleaned up, making sure you're posting any highlights or information that you have, or, just reaching out to coaches through, if you DM or email. Any of that stuff has been really good for me to get in touch with some high academic kids that, can really make an impact for us. So that's probably where we've had our most success on the recruiting trail. And obviously some pretty good assistants that have come here before me that have given me some pretty good connections too. So just trying to build off of those and, keep the ball rolling a little bit.
When it comes to being high academic, what GPA range are you looking for? What test scores? Are you guys going test optional? What does it look like on the academic side?
So yeah, we are test optional. But I would say the average of the students that submit their testing scores to us is about a little over 1,400. Not saying a 1,400 is always gonna be the bar for you, but I think the biggest thing for us when we take a look at the academic and for some transcripts of our potential recruits, it's super important that the course load that they're taking, they're trying to challenge themselves a little bit too. So we're looking for guys that are taking some AP courses, taking honors courses, any of the IB courses that are available at their schools, to make sure that when we are looking at that stuff, that when they do come to a Bowdoin, that they'd be able to do the work. Obviously if you weren't challenging yourself in the classroom, but, showed up with a 3.9 and then all of a sudden you get to a school like ours and, you're a little overwhelmed. That's when, some of the problems could arise. But, we've been lucky enough that we have had some guys that are very dedicated in the classroom, which is why I do come to a school like Bowdoin, just because they know how that set them up for their careers or, their futures. And so that's kind of what we're looking for in regards to the academic standards.
What about major-wise? What are the main majors for the university, and what do the players normally study?
So the most popular majors on our campus, I'd probably say, are political science, econ, and probably it's between our government and legal studies program or our biology program. Those are probably the most popular for throughout campus. But then, we have a bunch of things: journalism, we have Arabic studies, we have international business as well. So, there's a broad arrangement or selection of things that you can go on that you can major in at a school like ours. For our team, I'd probably say the more popular majors, our guys love to go the business route, so probably econ or finance. And then it's between either government or legal studies or political science. So those are probably the top four. But then, some of those guys are interested in studying Arabic, so they'll have a minor in Arabic studies or African studies or anything of that nature. So they like to get their hands on everything, which is pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. I was a finance major too. I ended up back in basketball too.
Yeah.
As a top academic school, what does a basketball program do to support the student athletes?
So what we do, especially for our first years, the first thing that we do, they'll go through their first week of classes. They'll get their, semester calendars that they have to, or their syllabus that they get from each course. And then from there, they'll meet with Coach Gilbride and myself for individual meetings. For the freshmen, we'll meet with them every single week. And we'll just develop a semester calendar with them. So we'll say, you have a test coming up this Thursday. How are you preparing for it? You have a paper due next Tuesday, how far along you are with it, or if you're struggling in any type of your courses that you're taking. Just kind of figuring out how the best plan of action to get you going again, whether that's, signing you up for tutoring immediately or making sure you're attending extra office hours. We don't have study groups because our guys do a really good job of just making sure they're staying on top of their work. But, if guys are ever struggling with anything, they aren't afraid to ask a teammate for help or, approach us when they have issues like that. So we try to make sure we're staying on top of those guys, obviously when it comes to their academics. And then for the upperclassmen, we'll meet with them every other week. Same type of thing. We'll develop a calendar with them. And in those meetings, we'll talk about academics, obviously, but we want to make sure they're comfortable on campus. So how is social life? How is basketball going? Like, what adjustments do you want to talk about? And if everything's good, then, we'll probably throw a quick film session in there or talk about something that we saw in last practice just to, kind of bring it all full circle too and obviously make sure they're aware of what they need to work on. They feel comfortable on and off the court too.
No, that's awesome. I got a big question for you. So when you walk into a gym at the Ivy League camps, at the West Coast League high academic camps, how does a player catch your eye on the court? You got hundreds of kids. What do you look for?
So, I mean, obviously coaches are looking for guys, especially in the era of our game now when, everyone's looking to space the floor, looking for guys that can really shoot it. That's obviously something that sticks out to me. But then, obviously you're looking for things outside of that. So, obviously you want to see the intangibles like how unselfish they are, how they treat their teammates, how they respond to their coaches, just things like that to make sure that they're coachable. And then also just IQ guys, just high IQ guys that can see the play ahead or can read anticipate the next pass on the defensive end. Guys that just really have a good feel for the game and can play. Our style of play is really not – we don't really have too much of a structure. We'll have like some simple guys and some quick hitters to kind of put guys in positions to score and give them, some of our better players, whether, it's our bigs trying to get, touches down low or, our best shooter running off a stagger screen. We try to really put them in positions to score from there. But other than that, it's really just them playing and making reads. We'll try to tell them what they should and should not be, or should be looking for, I should say. But from there, it's really just up to them to kind of just play. We want them to be able to play free and not overthink, because once they start to overthink and second guess things, that's when, some of the mistakes happen and, things can kind of compound from there. But, we've been really fortunate kind of going back to, the guys that we've had come through our program to have some really talented guys come in that, we can just kind of say, all right, we're going to put you in a position to score here, and we're going to let you guys read the play from there. So we kind of just, want to space the floor and give the guys most opportunities possible to, obviously play as open as possible. So
what do you guys do defensively?
So we're mostly a man-to-man team. We've shown a couple of different zones just to kind of switch things up depending on, matchups or what we got going, and depending on, obviously scout and how well other team shoots it from the outside. But we've mostly been a straight-up man-to-man team. Coach Gilbride will throw in, a couple of different zones here and there. But, we really pride ourselves on, keeping teams out of the paint, playing physical on the inside. We're a bigger team, so, we have a really – a good amount of size. So we like to funnel guys into the paint and try to force them to shoot over our bigs and, get guys off the three-point line as much as possible. The more uncomfortable we can make you, the better, opportunities we can get, because we like to take those, those stops and try to get out on the break and score. If we don't have to come down and call it a set or play in the half court, we're pretty happy with that. That way we can just get some easy layups in transition or some easy kick-out threes for our shooters too.
That's a fun way to play too. What's your recruiting timeline? I remember when Jack was going through his recruitment period. So early decision, regular decision, ED1, ED2. What's kind of the process for you guys when you're recruiting a potential recruit?
So Bowdoin has a pretty extensive recruiting process so we have to – we obviously, like any other high academic school, you collect their transcripts or any other information, their test scores. But we also would ask for, the classes that you're going to be taking your senior year to see if you're challenging yourself still and make sure senioritis isn't kicking in a little too soon. And then also just a resume just to kind of sell yourself on things outside of basketball too. So, our admissions program is looking for, what do you do off campus? What community service do you do? How involved are you in, helping out the youth? Are you working any camps or anything of that nature that, can sell yourself outside of just, coming to school to play basketball, because Bowdoin's looking for, the whole person that can really make an impact off the court as well. So then from there, we'll submit the info to admissions for an early read process, and then they'll get back to us and let us know, where you fall academically at a school like Bowdoin. And, usually we try to find high academic guys, so we usually get positive responses from that. And then from there, we look for our top, depending on how many spots we have available for that next class, our top recruits, and tell them that, we'd love to have them be a part of the program and offer them a roster spot on the team. So we usually try with our timeline, we'd love to be done early decision one. So we try to really get ahead on the recruiting circuit, just to get out and meet as many players as possible and develop as many connections as possible. But it doesn't always work out that way. Last year, for instance, we had a couple of regular decision guys and of that nature. So although we might try to, get our class in as early as possible, as any other school would probably, but our timeline really varies from year to year, just depending on, our position, the positions that we're trying to recruit, or just the timeline of guys making the decision. I know Jack was pretty quick to make his decision after he came up for his visit. He seemed to love Bowdoin pretty quick, and right after his trip, and we're excited to have him again for 3 more years.
He's gonna be big time.
Yeah.
What about aid wise? What kind of aid does the university offer?
So Bowdoin is need blind, so we try to meet the family's full need. And, so we're I want to say ranked number 1 in the country actually for dishing out financial aid packages, which really helps us out. So, it helps us out in our recruiting process, even though, some dealing with some families that may not be able to afford a Bowdoin. We try to figure out the best situation possible for them because, the opportunity to come to a school like ours is obviously great just because of the return on investment that you get from a school like ours is pretty big. So we try to meet families' full need on that. And I would say we've done a pretty good job in the past with it. And, we've never really run into too many issues with it. So
that's a huge part of the recruiting process too. The Division III level, high academics gets really expensive really quick. Finally, what advice do you have for kids in this recruiting environment who may not play this spring and summer? How do they get on your radar? What can they do to stand out? What do you want them to send to you if they're interested?
Definitely. So what we've been asking for is just full games if you have it. If you have a really good game that you would love to see us, we'd love to see that, just kind of so we can see you on both ends of the floor, or even highlights as well. But we definitely would love to see full games if you can. Any stats that you have, obviously your academic info, just to make sure that you qualify to get in. And, that's obviously a big part of, us moving along in the process of recruiting you. And then just making sure you do as much research as possible on the school as well. When we're talking to guys, obviously it's our job to sell Bowdoin to you. But, if you have questions for the coach, hey coach, what's your play style? What's the campus environment like? Just the more questions that you ask that you can show interest to the schools that you're interested in. I think that goes a long way. I think, and also that shows coaches that, you're really into the whole process and you're really interested in the school as well, obviously. And you're personable. The fact that you'd be able to have a conversation like that with a coach, definitely goes a long way. So that's definitely a big key in the whole recruiting process. And then obviously, like when I was talking about social media, making sure you have clean social media, because not just coaches look at that, our admissions team is looking at that as well to make sure that, there's nothing on there offensive or anything that can shed Bowdoin in a bad light. And, so I think that's definitely a big key as well. And then also just doing, again, exploring your options, like I said, but being open to your options. Obviously early on in the process, learn as much as you can. And then, as you get closer to making your decision, then you can start to narrow things down a little bit, but just being open to, all the coaches that are reaching out.
I really appreciate it, Coach. And please tell Jack Garza that his West Coast League family says hello. And, wish you guys the best. Really appreciate your time tonight. I'll go ahead and pass it back to Matt.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And anybody that does want to reach out to Felix, we have his email. We put it in the chat box. So if you guys have more questions, you can always feel free to reach out to him. It's on the website as well. And I know he'd be really excited to hear from you guys. He's been in our events and he's seen a lot of you guys probably already and probably knows about more of you than you think. So, Felix, we got a couple more minutes here. One thing that I saw when I was kind of looking at your bio, preparing for today, is that you did some work with kind of some diversity initiatives on campus, working as a program coordinator, specifically with, kind of the student population. And, obviously with kind of everything that's been going on, as of late in our country, I just kind of wanted to touch base with you and kind of check in and see, like, what are some things that, obviously while school is out right now, there's not a lot of students around, but, what are some things that you either with the team or just kind of for young people that you think are some good ideas or things that, are initiatives that you're trying to kind of bring forth to the forefront in some of these, kind of difficult times for people all across the country right now?
Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously a tough time for our nation, but, what we've been trying to do as a staff is just staying in contact with our players constantly, just making sure they're okay in their home life and making sure that they're doing well mentally as well. And, that's the one thing that we've been trying to do, but then also just talking about these issues. One thing that we've been doing as a team is, we'll have like a quick, like, I guess we call them like table talks, but we'll be through Zoom, obviously, with the pandemic. But where we'll just speak about, a different article that we were supposed to read throughout the week, or a movie like that we saw on Netflix. Speaking of movies like The 13th or When They See Us, just to kind of talk about these issues. I think the most important thing in times like this is just to make sure that obviously they're tough conversations to have, but that we're having these conversations because that's just the only way that we're going to get through this. And the more that we can educate ourselves and learn on these issues, I think the better off we'll be in the end. So I think it's really starts with being open-minded and obviously doing as much research as possible as you can do on our history and within the country, or just, just on the Black community in general. I think the more you can learn about that, the more, we could have these discussions, and that hopefully will lead to, less social injustice in our nation. But, I think the biggest thing we've been stressing to our guys is just being allies, looking out for your teammates, constantly checking in on them. And even if you're in situations in town, if there were a situation to arise, just making sure that, you're having each other's back. And, obviously the more love you can spread throughout the community, the better off we'll be. So that's kind of the message we've been sending off.
No, definitely. And I think it's really cool because, like we touched on, you do have players from all over the country. You have players from even different countries, Japan, Canada, I think you touched on. And on this call in particular, we do have also players from all different parts of the country and outside of the country as well. So I think it's really cool. You guys have a really cool cross-section, and I'm sure some of those conversations that you guys are able to have are pretty powerful with lots of different perspectives and things like that. And you giving your perspective, head coaches, other assistants, players. I mean, it's really, it's great. So I agree with you. I think it's really important we're having these conversations, and, I really appreciate you sharing that stuff. I definitely encourage, everybody to continue to reach out to Felix and to all of the coaches that we have tonight, whether it's about the schools, basketball. They want to hear from you guys just as much as you want to hear from them. So that's really important. And is there anything else here? We got about 1 more minute left, Felix. Anything else that we didn't have a chance to touch on that you wanted to speak about real quick before we head off?
I just want to say, obviously I know it's tough times with games being out, but just keep grinding every single day. If you can get outside and do, 30 minutes of ball handling, an hour of shooting, I think that goes a long way, especially because you never know when things are going to open up again. So just constantly have that mentality that you want to be ready if things were to open up this weekend or tomorrow. You want to make sure that if you got the chance to play in front of some college coaches that you showed your best. So definitely keep that in mind throughout this whole thing.
Definitely. And always remember, guys, Felix said he could beat LeBron in one-on-one. Don't forget, that's what he said, not me, him. Okay. So just a reminder. But nah, man, we're really looking forward to seeing you again in person, hopefully soon, man. You've been great. You've showed us a lot of love and support for all of our events, and obviously recruiting the West Coast. And we hope a lot of success for you in your future, Felix. We'll be seeing you again soon. Please stay safe. Reach out if you need anything. And really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys doing this, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys soon.
No doubt. We'll see you soon, Felix. Have a good night, man.
All right. Thanks, guys. You too.
How's everything going?
We're good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I feel a little inferior though. Coach Sullivan really showed me up. So
I know.
It's all right. I'll get him back come season.
Well, we're really excited to announce, or I should say introduce our third and final guest of the evening. Great friend of ours, has spent a lot of time recruiting at our events and here on the West Coast. Coach Dave Sloan from Carnegie Mellon. Before we kind of get into the teeth of it, give us a little bit of background about yourself. Tell us about kind of what led you to your time now coaching at Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, so I just finished season number 2 here at Carnegie Mellon, and it's funny. I don't exactly have the playing career that the last two can talk about. And when I went to school, I mean, for myself, basketball is important. I knew I always wanted to coach and wanted to play in college, but I was really targeting the academics. And so when I was looking at schools, it kind of started on that side. Now for me, I actually pursued a degree in athletic training. So I've been a certified athletic trainer, worked in collegiate sports medicine for 4.5 years, actually before I came to Carnegie Mellon. And so, I kind of have a different background. So I went to a small Division III school in Reading, Pennsylvania called Alvernia University. And, had a great athletic training program, but had a really successful basketball program with it. So, I don't have the playing stats to go with it, but I was able to be a part of a winning program for 4 years. We won 3 conference championships. The only year we didn't win the conference, we won what's called the ECAC, which is kind of like the NIT for the East Coast in Division III. So in my 4 years, we put up 4 banners in the gym. And so, I really got to see what a program, of that level is like every day. And then when I graduated, I pursued a graduate assistant position, was looking into coaching, but I had a great opportunity to stay at my alma mater and work as a certified athletic trainer. So I got my MBA, worked as an athletic trainer, and coached high school ball for 2 years. So that was kind of my introduction into coaching. Had a great time. High school ball is wild. We my first 2 years had completely different styles of play in 2 years. And so, really got the whirlwind there. And then was able, through a connection of an assistant coach that I played for, was able to go up to Maine and coach at a very small Division III school called Maine Maritime Academy, and was there for 2.5 years. Worked under 2 different head coaches. And so, again, kind of got a whirlwind, especially with recruiting and really, kind of got thrown to the fire and got a chance to work for, 3 coaches in really 4.5 years. And it was an awesome experience. And then, an opportunity through some connections that I had, came up to come back to Carnegie Mellon. And I'm originally from Central Pennsylvania. I actually have a relative who's an athlete at Carnegie Mellon. And so it's a cool chance for me to come back home. But, working at a great institution in the UAA, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned the UAA. We touched on that a little bit with our first speaker of the night, Kevin, and some of our previous speakers we've had on other weeks. But from the academic standpoint, a lot of the UAA schools are some of the best in the country. So talk specifically about Carnegie Mellon from the academic side. Coach, tell us a little bit about the school and, kind of what makes it so special.
Yeah, everyone, especially, I mean, the 2 guys that talked before me here, every school is going to have rankings. We're all, in the UAA and the NESCAC, we're top institutions in the country, and, rankings are great. We love to brag about them. That's what we do, but they're not everything, and so when you look a little deeper, we are a top 25 ranked school. We're the 5th best business program, the 6th best engineering program, the number 1 computer science program. So, we have a lot of degrees, and a lot of people seem to think about Carnegie Mellon and they go right to engineering and computers. Yeah. But, we have 80 different majors, 90 different minors. So we have a lot of opportunities for students. And, the cool thing, and everyone kind of pauses when I say it, but really, we are a research institution. We're a STEM-based, school, but we're a STEM-based liberal arts school. And I know that sounds weird, but, the reason I say that is all of our programs have the STEM foundation, science and math, technology, research. That's where all of our programs start. But we really push our guys to branch out. All of our guys on our team have minors. They got a second major. They're taking random classes. We have a stats major who, in an extracurricular club, they were creating a computer program, and he was the guy coding it. We have a rising sophomore who's a business major, and he told us this summer, like, hey, I might go to med school, so I'm going to take some science classes. And that's what our students do. And so, it's tough because we talk a lot that, at Carnegie Mellon, I can't tell you all the opportunities you're going to have because I don't know what they are. You've got to get into our school and start making connections, because the people you're around every day and the doors that are going to open once you get here, that's why you come. It's tough to talk about up front, but our guys, I mean, they come in, the way our school's set up is we have 6 undergraduate colleges kind of within the Carnegie Mellon umbrella that are just, groups of majors. And we've had guys across just about all 6. I think in our head coach, Tony Wingen, just wrapped up his 30th year. In his 30 years, we've had somebody in 5 out of the 6 undergraduate colleges. The only one that we haven't is fine arts. And it tends to conflict with, practices and recitals and that kind of stuff for the fine arts program. But so we have a great mixture of majors and things that our guys are really going for.
Awesome. No, it's amazing. And on the basketball side of it, Coach, we've already kind of touched on what the UAA is all about, traveling to some of the biggest cities. So with you guys specifically, tell us a little bit about your program, how you guys play, how you guys recruit, and sort of kind of what the future holds, hopefully, for you guys at Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, so like I just said, Coach Wingen just wrapped up year number 30. He's the longest tenured coach in the UAA, and I think there's a lot of good with that. He's seen a lot of guys come through, a lot of things, not only at our institution but also in the UAA as a whole. And so his experience really helps the program because there's nothing that shocks him. We as a program, we're prepared for a lot of those situations. So right now, I mean, we've had success. Right now, we're kind of in a building kind of time as a program. So the last 2 years, we changed our style of play completely about 2 years ago. And so, we're really kind of coming into our own. You look at our record, we haven't had the record that we wanted the last 2 years, but we've seen a lot of growth in the style that we play. We have 4 guys averaging double figures in scoring last year. And so, the way that we play, we're excited about where we're going with that. And we just keep building. We're excited about the guys we have coming back. We're really excited about our incoming guys, including one of the West Coast elite guys coming in. And so we're excited with the way that we're building and where we're going, because, we've got some work to do. There's some teams in our conference. Coach Sullivan's one of them that we're looking up to right now in terms of needing to catch. And so we're excited with where we're going. We had the number 2 ranked offense in the conference. So we're going to score the rock. We're just working to figure out ways to get a few stops to win a few more games.
Definitely. Well, I'm gonna toss it over to Scotty. Don't get him started about your incoming recruiting class, because it's gonna be a whole.
Hey, I feel like I hear all about
big recruit coming in. Big recruit from Bishops, San Diego, California.
We're excited.
So, Coach, you go to camps around the country. I pretty much see you everywhere I go. So what do you look for at these camps? What catches your eye? How does a recruit stand out?
Obviously, I mean, we got to recruit the best ball players we can, right? And so, the skill level is one thing. And, versatility is a term that gets thrown out, right? Every coach wants to talk about it. But, the way that we evaluate skill is you have to have one skill that you're going to come in at a UAA level right away. It doesn't matter what that is. It can be shooting, it can be playmaking, it can be defense, rebounding, whatever it is. But you've got to come in with one skill that's going to impact our program from day one. And then what we're looking to evaluate is what else can you do, right? So if you're a shooter, can you put the ball in the deck? Can you defend? Can you get in the paint and make a pass, right? Those things are important. And again, versatility is kind of one of those buzzwords, but in our offense, we run a 5-out offense, and every single player that we have is going to be put in a position to dribble, pass, shoot, and screen. And so if all you can do is one thing and there's nothing else to your game, you're going to struggle in our offense, because we're going to ask you to be in a situation to do more than that. But, in saying that, you have to be able to contribute at the UAA level in some skill, from day one. But so you take skill out of it. The easiest way to get my attention when I walk into a gym is energy. Do you want to be there? I mean, listen, camps are tough. I stand on a sideline and just watch kids, and I'm exhausted, right? And so playing is hard. I get it, but do you want to be there? Do you want to work? Do you want to run the floor? Do you want to cut hard? Do you want to dive for a loose ball? Are you going to fight for a rebound? Are you talking? Right? I mean, no coach is ever happy with the communication on the court, right? So what are you doing to try and boost that, especially to camp level? And so though, the energy and the commitment and just the desire to work hard, I mean, that's the easiest thing to catch my attention. And I can tell you that, the first thing I will tell our head coach with the kid is, if you're going to talk on the court and if you're going to yell and be excited, I'm going to have him take a look at you. And that's the easiest way to stand out, at least to us. And talking to a lot of, my coaching buddies, that's one of the things they say as well.
What do you touch on it defensively? What do you guys do defensively?
Yeah, so we're mostly a man-to-man defensive team. We're going to switch 1 through 5. And so, what we're looking for are, again, we're a program that's going to score the rock. And so that's, we kind of talk a lot about our program is built on execution at the offensive end and work rate on the defensive end. So, we want guys that are committed to just working hard, flying around, talking, right? Just scrambling, kind of creating that chaos. And so, we need guys that can defend, but more importantly, that want to defend. When we have a point guard that switches onto a big, do you want to work around? Do you want to try and body him up? As a big, do you want to try and keep him in front of you? those things are important. And again, in our program, we're still working on the defensive side. That's one thing. If you look at our stats, we are working to improve. But that's something that we see as a mindset. We see our offensive game as an execution and a lot of those nitty gritty skills. Defense for us is just a commitment. It's a commitment to working hard and really just saying, I'm going to get the job done.
Awesome. And obviously Carnegie Mellon is a top ranked university. What does it take to get in? We're looking for test score wise, GPA wise. What makes a transcript or an overall student profile stand out?
Yeah. So first, from a GPA perspective, we look a lot more on transcript rigor than we do just GPA. So, in saying that, on a 4.0 scale, we're going to want to see above a 3.7, 3.6, depending on the classes that you have. But more importantly, we're looking at transcript rigor. So we are looking for how many APs are you taking? How many, IB classes are you taking? The two classes we look directly at are calculus and physics. So we're going to look at, when did you take both of those classes? If you take calc as a junior, are you taking calc 2 as a senior? Same thing with physics, right? Exhausting the opportunity, especially in the science and math, that you can at your school. That's a really important thing in terms of grades and transcript. Test scores are very important to us as well. Now, it has been announced we are going test optional for the 21 recruiting class. It was just announced the other day for us. But we do want to see scores. And again, kind of like everybody else says, it's a little bit of a sliding scale depending on your major and depending on what your transcript looks like. Kind of the baseline that we talk about is a 1400. That's kind of getting you in that ballpark. Now, again, it doesn't mean if you have a 1390, we can't make it happen, right? There's, every situation's a little different, but we kind of look at a baseline of a 1400, needing a 700 on the math, and then ACT looking for a 32 or 33. That's kind of the baseline. But again, it depends on the program. If you want engineering, those scores are going to have to come up, especially in math, versus let's say you're going for English or psychology, right? And so that's kind of where the sliding scale comes in a little bit. But again, it's also based on what your transcript looks like.
What about aid? I know, Division III high academic schools tend to be on the expensive side or on the higher end. What kind of aid does the university offer?
Yeah, so we're a need-based institution. So, what we're going to do when your family fills out the FAFSA and pumps out the estimated family contribution, we're going to try and match that as close as we can. And so, it's tough for me really to give, ballpark figures because it's really dependent on your family and what your situation is. The best thing I can say on our website, on our admissions page, there's a net price calculator. And so we just encourage every family to fill that out. And it's going to give you a pretty close ballpark as to what you're going to pay. And so, again, we encourage you to fill that out and take a look at that number and say, is this, approximate number, can we make that work? If it's in the ballpark, great. If it's not, then that's something that's important for you to know, early in the process. And so, really for us, it's about doing that. And then let's see where you're at. Now, the nice part to it is when you complete that, our admissions team also has a copy. And so if you have questions that you want to dive into further detail, you can call our admissions department and talk through all of those lines just based on your net price calculator. So it's a way to answer, get a lot of questions answered early in the process without officially, having to submit any documents.
No, when we went through this process with your future Carnegie Mellon player, you guys were great with the net price calculator and all that stuff is really, really helpful. I get this question all the time. Obviously, a lot of recruiting is geared towards the grassroots and the camps. How much do you look at high school games? Do you visit potential recruits' high school games and watch them play in that environment?
Yeah, we do. We're going to look at as much information as we can. So obviously, based, with the national recruiting base, it's hard to get to a lot of high school games out in California, because we're playing and traveling for our own season. So, we do try and get to as many as we can. So I came out to California and saw Ryan play a little bit, in his high school year before he was committed. So we try and make those trips as much as we can. That's kind of reserved for those guys that we are far along in the process with, especially during their senior year. But, we're going to do a lot of talking to coaches, watching film, looking at stats, looking at articles, talking to people if they're writing about your league or whatever. And so, we do a lot of information finding that way that goes, beyond necessarily seeing you play live. But yeah, for sure. We're going to look at every game and talk to your coaches, because it's important. AAU gives you a chance to get some exposure, but at the same time, there's some guys that might not look as great in AAU because it's a new program or style where, when they're comfortable in their high school program, they're really able to show out. And so we're going to try and take a look at every player that, that we're recruiting and we're interested in, to both levels, to see how they look in different situations with competition level, styles of play and everything like that.
So obviously we're in the most bizarre recruiting environment in our lifetime. So when it comes to kids in this recruiting class that, might not play in AAU, might not play in high school, depending on where you live, how do they get on your radar in these circumstances?
Yeah, I think taking initiative is the number one thing. I can tell you from our standpoint, we are always talking to coaches and scouring the web. And I know Felix was talking about, social media. I mean, we're doing everything we can to find you, but there is nothing better than having a player reach out to us specifically, and for us, that's an email, or, really the first step to our recruiting process is our recruiting questionnaire. So even if you reach out, that's what we're going to have you submit. That way we can collect transcripts, test scores, contact information, and all that stuff to really get the process started. So the more initiative that you as players can take, the more you get on our radar, because, as we're looking at players, it's really a three-pronged approach for us. Obviously we need the best, we need the best basketball players. We need the best, students, but at the same time, we want guys that want Carnegie Mellon. And so, when we have two players that are equal as basketball players and equal as students, and one kid really wants us, that's who we're going to spend the time on. And so showing that initiative and reaching out to us, that's the first way to kind of show us, hey, you're serious about Carnegie Mellon. And that's going to move you up our recruiting board just by knowing that.
And they're coming to a great coaching staff too. So, highest recommendation.
Well, I appreciate that plug.
Dave, let me ask you, as a kind of the recruiting coordinator, lead assistant, a lot of emails probably come through you. You're spending a lot of time on the road, right? So talk a little bit about what's the process of, okay, you're seeing all these guys at camps and tournaments, or all these people are emailing you or the head coach. How do you filter that information and get it to your head coach to the point where now you guys can say, all right, this is a guy that we want to bring in? Because I'm sure you're getting a ton of emails, you're getting a ton of calls, you're seeing a ton of kids. What does that process work like for you guys?
I wish I could say it's a science. I would say it's probably more of an art. Really it's just constant communication. And so, a lot of it is, I'm taking the first look, and I'm watching, every film that gets sent in, everybody that fills out a questionnaire, I'm taking a look at what you have. And so, that's kind of the initial look. And then, we start to work on a recruiting board and passing things along to Coach Wingen, as guys rise. And so, we start with the academics. You have to check off the academic piece. And so, that's the first area. Then we go to basketball. All right, he can play. Boom, we're moving him up. And so that's kind of our approach. And again, it's not, everyone talks about having a system in place, and I can't say there's a black and white, system that we have, but it's looking at need with our roster, but then really looking at academics first, basketball skills second, and then just starting the communication and relationships. And, from there, we're going to be able to find out who fits Carnegie Mellon and who fits, Tartan basketball. And those are the guys that we're really going to dive in with. And, our goal every year, and again, our hope is that we can continue as natural as possible here this summer. But our goal is to really trim our list, come August, and be able to hone in on those guys that, we really like, but also the guys that really want us. And so, I know the guys earlier were talking about recruiting timelines. We're no different. We have early decision. It's a November 1st deadline. And that's our hope every year, is that we can wrap up our class through ED. And if that's not the case, this year we had 2 guys that went ED. We had 4 spots available, and we had 2 that we stayed with then and got during regular decision. So, every year we hope we can finish the class through ED, but If we don't fill roster spots, we're going to continue through regular decision because, at the end of the day, it's about the player's family and their timeline, so we're going to help them through that as much as we can. But, we never want to rush a decision. We want players to commit when they know Carnegie Mellon is the right place. And so we never want to pressure. We never want to, want players to make a decision before they feel fully comfortable, because at the end of the day, if they jump a decision like that, they're probably not going to be happy, and that's not helping them, and that's not helping our program either.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. That's really important too to hear. Put yourself in a time machine. Go back to your time when you were in a high school coaching position, or like a lot of these guys on the grassroots side. If you were, the people that are on this call right now, if you were coaching them at the high school or grassroots level, what sort of advice would you be giving them about how should they be reaching out, emails, what should they be putting, calls, texts, how can they stay organized? Like, what advice would you be giving kids from that perspective?
Well, I think the number one thing, I mentioned it really in the first call I talk to any recruit, is everybody, all they're saying at the beginning of the process is be open-minded, right? Talk to every school, talk to every coach, and I do think that's important, because you don't really know the opportunities that are out there, especially being in California. Maybe you haven't heard of Carnegie Mellon, or you don't know about us, and so having that conversation or looking into our website, I think that's important. But I also think it's really important to be thinking about what you want, because as funny as it sounds, it's okay to know what you want. Right? Do you want to be in a city? Do you want to be close to home? Those things are important, because there's a lot of schools out there, and especially at the Division III level. And so even when you're trying to trim your list and looking at high academics, there's still a ton of schools to look at. And so I think the more that you can objectively look at your own process and say, hey, what do I like? And hey, I looked into Carnegie Mellon and they're in Pittsburgh. Do I like Pittsburgh? Do I like this school, or the size, or whatever it is? And the more honest that players can be up front, I think that really helps them, right? This process, it can cause a lot of anxiety, trying to talk to a lot of schools, and especially in the pandemic, not being able to visit yet. But I think the earlier that you can start to think about what you like, that helps players to also trim their list. Right. And listen, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm slightly biased here. I think Carnegie Mellon is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But, we're here to try and help you find a fit. And if it's Carnegie Mellon, that's awesome. If it's not, then again, we want to help you find whatever school that is. And so I think the earlier players can think about that, and coaches, whether it's in AAU, whether it's high school, can help players and families think about that. I think it's going to help players feel more in control of their recruiting process. And then ultimately they're more confident in their, commitment and decision down the road.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. And, during this pandemic that was been going on, and now you guys obviously were kind of out of school, so people are from all different parts of the country, and also kind of what's been going on with some social injustice and stuff. What have you guys been doing to stay connected as a team while everybody's kind of doing their own thing and back at home? What are some things that you guys as a program has done to kind of keep everybody connected?
I think it's all about communication, talking to guys, talking to our returners, talking to our incoming guys, having our players stay connected, because, all of this, it's about conversations. They're uncomfortable. A lot of people, and I, myself included, I'm not sure, and Scott can attest to this, I'm not necessarily a man of few words, but there's a lot of times that, I'm not sure what to say or how to phrase things. But I think being vulnerable and being aware and knowing that's what is going to lead to the change that we need to see in our country. And so, something we're trying to do with our guys, and something we've talked about, there's been a lot of statements put out there, social media and stuff. And in our program, we haven't. And the reason being that we want to have the conversations with our guys. We want to be real. We don't want things to be perceived that they're forced, and so we're just about having those honest conversations and getting our guys thinking in that manner, so that we can continue to grow our own awareness, and again, hopefully not only not be part of the problem, but make sure we're part of the solution as well.
Definitely. No, I think that's great. Well said. Very well said. Well, we got about a couple more minutes here, so just wanted to see if there's anything else that we didn't get a chance to touch on that you really wanted to bring up kind of before we wrap things up for the evening. And again, just as a reminder, find Coach's emails down there. You can reach out, ask him some questions. And we'll try to make sure that we pass along any questions that we didn't get a chance to answer. But we've been really excited to have you on tonight and want to give you a chance to kind of wrap things up if there's anything else on your mind that you wanted to touch on before we head off for the evening.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is really unique is everybody today talks about networking, right? And it's so important. That's how you get jobs. You need a degree, but you get jobs by knowing people and getting your foot in the door. And so all the high academic institutions and world-renowned institutions, one of which being Carnegie Mellon, we have an incredible alumni base. But when you dig further into that, our Tartan basketball alumni base is incredible. Coach Wingen's been here for 30 years. And so a lot of those guys have been his players. And so you have that shared experience. We had 45 guys back for our alumni weekend this year. Wow. So much so that we couldn't find gym time for everyone to play. Guys are talking about going to different locations. And I mean, it's incredible to see, that amount of alumni coming back every year supporting our program. But when you go further than that, it's our alums they're incredibly interested in what our players are doing, where they want to go, where they want to be, industries, locations. They're talking to our freshmen who have no idea what they want to do. They're asking them like, hey, here's where I work, here's where I live, what can I do to help you? So, just one example. I mean, we have a former basketball player who's, when he graduated CMU, he went to work on Wall Street for Morgan Stanley. He's been working there since. He actually helped one of our seniors that just graduated, helped him get an internship last summer with Morgan Stanley. And then before, that player finished his internship, offered him a job. And so we have an alum that hired another basketball alum to work for him on Wall Street. And there's a lot of examples I could give, about that. But I think just not only knowing the alumni network as a school, but just our program and the amount of involvement that our alums, especially through basketball, have with our current players. I mean, our guys are graduating and they feel very confident about, knowing people in the industry, knowing locations. We have a current player who's thinking about living in Chicago. So he's talked to 3 or 4 basketball alums that have worked and lived in Chicago, just about the area. And so I think that involvement is special because not every program has that.
Definitely. And the last question, I can't let you go without, what is a Tartan?
Well, we're a pretty fierce mascot. So our mascot is the Scotty dog, but Tartan is actually a color scheme of plaid. So it's more of a pattern. And then the Scotty dog is our official mascot. So it's a pretty fierce combination, I gotta say.
Do you have a dog that comes to the games?
We do.
That's pretty cool.
Now, not a real dog. It's a nice costumed Scotty dog. But I could work on it. I can't promise anything. If you want to donate to the program and buy us a Scotty dog, I won't say no.
I love it.
2 Scotty dogs on the call right now, so we're in good shape. Well, awesome, Dave, man. We really appreciate you. Like Scotty said, I mean, pretty much anywhere we're at, I see you. I remember we saw you at a tournament in down south, kind of closer to San Diego earlier this past year, and you do a heck of a job. We love having you work our events and our high academic camps, and we're hopeful that we can get a chance to get back in the gym and see you again soon. But really appreciate.
We're excited. California is an area that, in West Coast, I mean, that's an area we're really putting a lot of focus in. We have 2 guys coming in from Southern California in our recruiting class coming in as freshmen next year. And so we're hoping to try and bring a few more with them.
Yeah, definitely. No, you guys have done a phenomenal job. Really appreciate you staying up late. I know we talked early this morning and you're still awake, alive and well. So we
coffee
really
does wonders, man.
Yeah, for real. Seriously, I can only imagine how many cups you're down by this point. But no, man, we really thank you for staying up with us tonight. I know this is really valuable for all the players and families on the call tonight. Please make sure you guys reach out to Coach, or if you guys have any questions specifically, like he said, they're doing a great job here on the West Coast and want to keep that going. But also nationally, we got a lot of players from all different parts of the country. So we really appreciate you, man. We hope we get to see you soon. Please stay safe and take care. Have a good evening.
Sounds good, fellas. I really appreciate it. Take care.
All right, see you, David.